Okay, so let's look at some lovely task ones. Now, the first thing I'm quickly going to talk about, most of you probably know this, bear with me, is the various types of task one. We can divide the task ones into two groups. There are task ones where we use numbers and where we don't use numbers, with numbers and without numbers. With numbers, line charts, bar charts, pie charts, table, and then sometimes they mix, they have a line chart and a pie chart or something like that. Often quite difficult that. Without numbers, map and process. So today we're going to start with line charts. We're going to do a lot of work with line charts, not only this video but many other videos, because we can learn some skills that we will use in the other charts. Great. Right, today we're going to be writing this essay. It's a nice line chart, 4 lines, about consumption of fish and meat, beef, chicken. But first, before we get to that, I want to teach you about sentence structure and noun phrases. Please don't get bored. This is very, very important. You will not find this in any other video or from any other teacher. This is my material and it will help you a lot. So let me show you some student errors that I have encountered over the years. We have these very bad sentences that we get, and when an examiner sees a sentence like this, he just immediately thinks band 5 and going down. For example, 2 other materials are glass and cans did not change. So you've got a verb, you've got a subject and then a verb and then another subject and another verb. Just sentence structure terrible. In 4 years, we can see that the paper and card was the highest. No, the paper and card was not the highest. It's the amount of paper and card. The paper and card was the highest means the paper and the card was flying in the air. It is clear that paper and card always held the greatest amount. Don't know what it means. What does hold the greatest amount? No, wrong vocab. The lowest amount of water which was used for industrial and domestic use were nearly the same figure. This was the number which was risen in agriculture. Alright, so you get the picture. Now what I'm trying to tell you is that we need to focus on sentence structure first. Now you're going to hear me talk about SVX a lot in the writing T1 and writing T2. This is subject, S is subject, V is verb, X is the rest of the sentence. X can be very complicated. We're not looking at that today. We're looking at this. The first thing you want to learn in T1, task 1, is how to choose the correct subject for your sentences. This is where students make their first problem. They choose something bad for the subject of the sentence, and it makes the whole sentence wrong, either in terms of grammar or in terms of meaning, in terms of task achievement. So today we're going to spend a lot of time on, and I'm going to show you an excellent method for finding the correct subject of a sentence. Let me show you what I mean. This is a list of nouns that I made, which are very common in task 1. You can change these nouns into verbs. Don't worry, we're just talking about nouns for now because we're talking about the subject of the sentence. So let's see what I wrote here. This is a list of nouns which commonly appear in task 1 questions. They work well with noun phrases that we use. I'm going to talk about that today. We're going to make noun phrases for the subject of the sentence. Probably cover the majority of questions, but not all, please. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list. That means complete. There are many examples which do not fit this pattern, but this is a good way to start. A lot of noun task 1s talk about consumption, production, generation, participation, all of these. I won't go through them all. Now the interesting thing is if you get one of these nouns, for example in our fish example, our chicken, beef, lamb, fish example, the main thing in this is consumption. It's all about consumption. Consumption of fish, consumption of chicken, consumption of beef, lamb. So that's your main noun for the whole task 1, is you're going to say consumption and you're going to turn it into a verb and say consume. Now the real interesting thing that I want to show you is that with these you can get a pattern and you can make 3 noun phrases from that. You can say beef consumption, you can paraphrase beef consumption to consumption of beef, But then you can make a wonderful paraphrase, which is a complex sentence paraphrase, and say the amount of beef which was consumed. And it works with all of them. It works with emissions, emissions of, and amount of gases which were emitted. Participation in football, football participation, number of boys who participated in football. Then you use each one of these noun phrases in your sentence as the subject of your sentence. All right, let me explain exactly in terms of grammar what these three patterns are. Okay, let's look at an example question. The chart below provides information about electricity generation in 3 countries from 1990 to 2000. So this is what you would then focus in on in the test. This is the whole topic of the whole task. So that brings us to noun phrase 1. That there is noun phrase 1. I'm not saying that noun phrase 1 is always in the question. Sometimes it's noun phrase 2, sometimes it's noun phrase 3, but 90% of the time one of these is there. So that's electricity generation. And what is that? That's just a noun and a noun. Electricity is a noun, generation is a noun. So that's the structure of that. All right. Then how do you make noun phrase 2? Also very easy. You take this noun, you put it there, you take this noun, you put it there, and you put a preposition in the middle. You switch them around and you put a preposition in the middle. So that goes there, preposition. Usually the preposition is of, but be careful. It can be by or with or many other prepositions. And now we get to noun phrase 3, which is the nice big one. And this is the one that gets you higher band score. And this is what it looks like. It looks complicated. Don't get confused. Don't get bored. I will explain. It's actually quite easy. All you say is the number or the amount or the percentage or the proportion of the noun, but it's this noun, which it can also be who, and then a verb. And then you change this into a verb. AP means active or passive. Sometimes the verb's active, sometimes the verb passive. We will look at that later. So for number, so we use number with countable. We use amount with uncountable noun. And percentage and proportion, you can use them. They mean the same thing. So in this example, the noun that we're going to put here is electricity. That is uncountable. So we say the amount of electricity. And then we must change this into a verb. So that's generate, but it must be passive because people generated it and we don't talk about people here. I'll explain that passive later. Don't worry. For now, just understand that it was generated. Now that gives you a nice big noun phrase with a nice relative pronoun. This is a magic word in IELTS writing. Examiners are looking for this word because it means complex sentences and that means higher band score. Right, now I just want to repeat, we are putting these noun phrases in the subject of our sentence. Let's look at the sentence structure. Here's our sentence, subject, verb X. We're putting these noun phrases in here. I don't want you to put them there. No, only in the subject. The second thing, very important to notice, is number 3. There's a verb over there. That is not the main verb. We're going to put another verb after that. That verb is connected to the electricity. So that verb, it goes in the subject as well. It is not the main verb. Please, please, please. Okay, let's go to our essay. All right, here is our essay that we're going to write. So what do? Well, let's just look at overall task 1 structure for those of you who don't know. This is how we structure our task 1. We start with a paraphrase. We're not going to look at this in this video or the overview in this video. We do it in another video. I'm focusing on noun phrases. But this is what it looks like. Paraphrase, that's where you paraphrase the question. I'm just going to leave here. Leave a line open, then you put your overview, leave a line, then you do your body paragraph 2, sometimes I put a line here. Sometimes you have body paragraph 3, but not usually. In today's, we're just going to have body paragraph 2. So today it's just going to look like that. All right, so that's your overall structure. We have beef, lamb, chicken, fish, 4 lines. So I'll probably do 2 lines here, 2 lines here. Okay, but the first thing we're going to do is, what are our noun phrases? Okay, so you're going to choose noun phrase 1, noun phrase 2, noun phrase 3. See if you can do it. Pause the video and see if you can see those 3 noun phrases. Right, noun phrase 1 is quite clear. They use it there. Look in the question for the noun phrases, but also look in the title of the chart. Often the noun phrases are there too. So I'm not going to do fish and meat. We're going to divide them into 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's just do chicken, for example. Chicken falls under meat. So noun phrase 1 is chicken consumption. That means noun phrase 2 is consumption of chicken. Actually, they have noun phrase 2 over here. Consumption of fish, consumption of some different kinds of meat. So there is noun phrase 2, there is noun phrase 1. And now the big one, noun phrase 3. Is chicken countable or uncountable? It's uncountable. So we say the amount, and then we must change this into a verb. Please, this is irregular change. It's not consumpted. Students want to write consumpted. It's consumed. And it's passive because we don't see who ate the chicken here. We're going to do passive the whole essay because we're talking about people ate, but we don't see the people. So we do passive. I'll explain passive later, don't worry too much. But there is your big noun phrase 3. Wonderful. Now we are ready to start our essay. So I'm going to just focus on the noun phrases and the subject of the sentence and the sentence structure in this essay. I'm going to go quickly over other things. There are a lot of other things, but I have to ignore them for now. Just focus on noun phrases. So that means I'm just going to give you the paraphrase. We'll do paraphrase in another video. Here's the paraphrase. Right, there's our paraphrase. So they used noun phrase 2 in the paraphrase, in the question. So I just use noun phrase 1. It's a nice paraphrase. Great. Then we go to our overview. Overall, it can be seen that consumption of chicken increased. So I've used noun phrase 2 there, while consumption of the other 3 foods decreased over the period shown. Great. Don't worry, we do overviews in another essay, another video. Just focus on this. This is subject of this clause. There's a that, so we have a new subject and main verb, and subject and main verb. That's what I want you to focus on. Right, now we can start really writing our essay. Let's start with chicken. Looking at the chart in more detail, it is clear that you will learn this kind of linking language. It's the same in every line chart or pie chart, whatever, that sort of thing. It's the same. And then we start with SVX. All right, this is the whole thing. You've memorized this. This is just straight out of your head. And now we start with SVX. We want to put the subject over there. So let's choose a subject. We've used 2, we've used 1. Let's choose 3 to really impress the examiner with the first sentence. The amount of chicken which was consumed. Subject. Then I'm going to say, it increased from that to that. That's all you need to do. Let me just put some verbs here. For line charts, usually increased, decreased, grew, that means increased, shrank, that means decreased. This is past tense of grew, past tense of grow, this is past tense of shrink. So there's some verbs for us to use. It increased from 140 grams per person per week. Please notice, you must put this whole thing here. Don't just put grams, that means it's wrong. Some examiners are very strict about that. But if you're clever, you can put in brackets here GDD, and then from then on you can use that. like that, so then you don't have to write it every time. Great. And there's our first sentence. Lovely first sentence. This you've memorized. You've chosen your noun phrase 3 as the subject of your sentence. You've got your main verb over there, and then you've just got these preposition phrases: from, in, to, in. 4 preposition phrases, one after the next. Don't forget to say the numbers. Great. And then you just do the sort of same thing again and again, but we want to make it a little bit better. We'll put some linking language. You see, chicken increased, beef decreased. So let's say in contrast. And then subject of the sentence, consumption of beef, main verb. And that's how easy it is. Right. Now, because I'm focusing on these noun phrases, I'm not making it too fancy. I will show you later in other essays how you can make it a little bit fancier. For example, try and find the highest point on the chart. There it is over there. And then after that, put comma, which was the highest point on the chart. So there it is over there. And then we can have another lovely which, comma, which. It's kind of useless information, but it's amazing information because it does 3 things. Gives you some extra words, gives you a which gives you a complex sentence, and it gives you a comparative. And in the question they say, make comparisons where relevant. So the examiner likes to see some comparisons. So look for the highest or even sometimes the lowest point on the chart, and after that number, just put that in. So easy, but it just gives you a real boost in your marks. Great, and then we're just going to do the next 2 lines. So let's do beef. Some nice linking language. This is just some nice linking language, turning to the remaining data sets, turning to the remaining charts. You could say turning to the remaining 2 lines, but data sets is very nice. It can be seen that. So which noun phrase should we choose? Lamb consumption. Let's choose noun phrase 3 again. We've only used it once. The amount of lamb which was consumed. In this case, I can think of a nice synonym for consumed, so I'll use it. It's just eaten. Same thing in this case. We want to say it slightly different. There we said increase as our main verb. So another way of doing this is started at 150 and decreased to 60. We could just say it like this: decreased from 150 to 60, but a little bit of difference is always nice. Don't forget to put the date in 1979, comma, and decreased. Shrank. Let's use shrank. Let's say approximately. It's always good to use about and approximately. Right, then we're going to do fish. Can you think of anything to say about fish? The line's pretty flat. This is more advanced, but throw it in. Consumption of fish. You don't have to do this. It's nice. It's nice for 2 reasons. Gives you another comparative, gives you a few extra words, but then it also gives you that. A relative pronoun, an it or a this, and that's always very nice. So that's the only time in this essay where we're using something else as the subject of the sentence. It decreased from about that to about that over the 25-year period. I've made it a little bit different. I didn't say in 1979 over there. I just said over the 25-year period, just to change it a little bit. Great. How many words is that? 148, as you can see down at the bottom there, 148 words. That's perfect. 140 is actually fine. They say 150, but 140 is actually acceptable. Right, so I'm going to end the video there because the video is getting a little bit long. I just want to stress what we did here. We found 3 noun phrases from here, and then in the subjects of our sentences, we use those noun phrases to construct the sentences. We just use some simple verbs. Please notice We didn't use anything else in the subject of the sentence. This is very important. Don't use there was. Don't use chicken increased. The chicken didn't increase. Consumption of chicken increased. Don't use a number as the subject of your sentence. 140 grams was the number which, or something crazy. Students come up with crazy things. Just use these 3 noun phrases in the subject of your sentence. Later on, I will introduce to you a 4th noun phrase, but this is okay for now. All right, I hope that helps.